Spoilers for Deltarune, obviously. Remember the trees in the Scarlet Forest back in Chapter 1? Well, do you remember that the solution required flicking a switch in the dark tree that was different from all the rest? I feel that this special tree is foreshadowing what will happen during the roaring. So where can you find this special tree? Well, it's located in a one-of-a-kind puzzle in a room that's filled with the common detailed Darkworld tree, the kind that can be found all throughout the Card Kingdom. It's also the one that can be found in the Eggman room, in both the Card Kingdom and in the Cyberworld. While the wall of trees used throughout the area as a background are probably meant to be this type of tree but grouped together tightly, that shouldn't mean that uses of the more detailed tree aren't important. This detailed Darkworld tree, known as a block tree in the files, is not used a lot through the Scarlet Forest, only 41 times, compared to the Field of Hopes and Dreams, which has 84 block trees. Also, no, I'm not referring to the tree that you get dark candy from, that's completely different. So, of the 41 times the block tree is used in the Scarlet Forest, can you guess how many the room with the NPC block tree switch has? 12. This room has 30% of the detailed trees in the Scarlet Forest, 13 if you count the NPC tree, which would make it 32%. And the only reason that the total number of times a block tree is used in the Scarlet Forest is 41 is because the rooms after where you first see Card Castle have 22 block trees. So if we don't count those, as they're technically after the Scarlet Forest, then that makes the total number of the block trees in the Scarlet Forest equal 19. Meaning that this puzzle room has over half the amount of detailed block trees in the forest. So just the sheer scale of the detailed block tree stands out. Now whenever you enter an overworld danger zone, the borders of the ground light up, while things like the ground and party members dim. However, the block trees, the bullets, and their spawner do not dim. These rules apply to many of the overworld danger zones, likely all of them. But when you do the puzzle as intended, going around a center ring in a counterclockwise circle, the block trees dim along with everything else that dimmed before. However, the borders, the bullets in their spawner, and Chris, who did change initially, do not dim any further. Anything else that was not mentioned, like Ralph or the ground, will become pitch black. And of course, the alive block tree switch will become brighter until it's no longer dim, because that's how the puzzle works. When a dark world is made, many of the objects in the light world room will morph into darkners that are living, based on that initial object. Now this NPC block tree is living, and seems to be based on the block trees that can be found primarily in the Card Kingdom, but also in the egg rooms. So what if this NPC block tree goes through a similar process of becoming a darkener? Except this time, it's a Darkworld object that's gaining life when a dark fountain is made inside of an already pre-existing Darkworld. Perhaps it would become a Darkerner. Not a Darkner, a Darkerner. It's a different thing. A darker yet darker being in a dark world that's already inside of a dark world. Something that a certain man that speaks in hands wrote about in Wingdings, and a certain bluebird almost made in a normal playthrough of Chapter 2. So why am I calling the NPC block tree a Darkerner? Well, it's in the same style as the block trees that we can find in a normal dark world. However, it has an eye and is bouncing around with legs. Also, the way that we are able to see the sentient block tree is by making the room darker than dark. So if this tree isn't a preview of what may happen in the future, a preview of what happens when you make a dark world inside of a dark world, a preview of what the roaring is going to do, I'm not sure what is. This room also makes sense as a place for foreshadowing, as it's inconspicuous. It's subtle, yet unique. There's another Avoid Overworld Bullets room that has been common, but now there's a puzzle attached. You can even get special dialogue for flipping the switch in the NPC block tree in order to complete the puzzle, without first seeing said tree. It's a little meta reaction that makes Ralphie say that Chris is really amazing for doing the puzzle before they would have known where the solution to the puzzle was. So this puzzle room has the room becoming darker yet darker being needed to see some sort of a darkener of Darkworld. A way to easily get past it by using meta-knowledge, and there's dialogue for that. The room has way more detailed block trees than the rest of the Scarlet Forest. And this is the room where you can go between the left side of this room and the right side of the Starwalker room in order to get the egg from the Eggman. So, this room is right after 2 Easter eggs that are also acknowledged in Chapter 2. So, why not add a bit of foreshadowing while you're at it? It's a perfect spot for it to be noticed and forgotten as some sort of random puzzle, but with just enough uniqueness to be very, very interesting if someone stops to think about it, or replay the game in the future if the sentient block tree is used again. So, in 6 or 10 years, when Chapter 7 releases,
don't forget
about the Darkerner Tree. But there is one thing that could make it not foreshadowing. During the Undertale 6th anniversary stream, there was concept art of this NPC showing that would have had the tree as an enemy. My response to this is that it's just a concept that didn't get used. And who knows? For all we know, they still could have made it foreshadowing in a manner similar to how the puzzle is. An example that I would propose is that we'd still have to go around the circle in order to make it dark, and in order to progress through the room, we'd have to fight the tree with just Chris. This would keep the second layer of darkness that the puzzle had by needing the room to be darker than dark in order to see and fight the Darkerner. And then after all that, it's just a one-time fight that wouldn't reappear until, say, the roaring happens or something. If it did end up being an encounter, then having this much attention would probably be too much. It'd be too obvious of a hint. And by that, I mean that many people would think about it and make predictions, like how I'm doing right now. I'd think that if Toby Fox wanted to hide hints, then he'd want to make it visible, not draw too much attention to it until way later, such as having it just be another random one-time puzzle, like it is here. But I'm not Toby Fox, so who knows? Other small things I'm thinking about in terms of Deltarune is wondering if there will be anything for not bringing the Cyberworld Darkners over to the castle town at the end of Chapter 2. There's even dialogue from Susie suggesting that you should go back, but she doesn't force you. Perhaps this is how the weird route in Chapter 3 is done, or perhaps a weirder route. Also, rules and Lancer better have more of a role in Chapter 3 because they're also in your pocket no matter if you go back to Castletown or not, they better have a role. Anyways, for this small video, I'm done talking about the block tree in terms of lore, but the code for it is interesting. If you don't want to listen to that, you can leave now, but it'll just be a minute. Alright, so let's see here. So this block tree switch is actually the same object as all the other block trees in the game. By that, let's see here. I think it's, what room is it? It's forest _ area 5. Here we go, Chapter 1. So if we zoom out, look, it's the same object. It's block tree background Chapter 1, and all these, they're all the same object. So here's why they're all the same object. So if you're in Chapter 1, and the block tree is needed to be created, it'll run a room check. It checks to see if you're in room forest area 5 chapter 1. And then after that, if you are in this room, it'll ask if the tree's above Y70. So Y0 is it's like right here. It's like on this line. It's weird. So anyways, if you're in this room, it'll run a check to see if it's above Y70, which is like right. It's on this line. If it's here, it won't turn into the block tree. However, if it's here, or anywhere up here, it'll become the block tree that we see, like the NPC switch one. Alright, let's hop over to Deltarune real quick. So, as you can see, I did move the block tree, so that's why you can see it's like the black border here, because I moved it down. However, it's still the block tree, so if we go around here, I might use this for footage, actually, but you can see the block tree is appearing because it's above Y70. So let's see what happens when we move the other trees above it. Or, let's just change the code. Yeah, let's see here. Let's just change this and set it to 2000 or something. That's what I did yesterday. Okay, let's see. I moved I think it's called a Dark Pond Man off to the side. Okay, let's just see. It's gonna run real quick. Okay, anyways. Okay, so if we go over to this room, So you'll see I've changed the code so that way all of these are now going to be above Y2000, and therefore they're going to be, what the heck? What did I do? Well, anyways, you can see they're all they're all the funny version. Maybe this is why you don't mess with the code, but yeah. Anyways, I just thought this was silly. It probably saves storage to just have it all as like one thing. But anyway, that's it for this video. I don't know how to write the outro, but I am working on a much larger video. Why is the music so loud? Anyways, I'm working on a much larger video that'll hopefully be out eventually, but it's probably going to be one of the more absurd series. Anyways, I'm patiently waiting for the July Deltarune newsletter. That will be happening shortly, I hope. Anyways, I don't know how to end the video, so I'll just end it here. Bye!